Upper back glide. If range of motion permits, have the person place their arm overhead to elongate and stretch the muscles in intercostal spaces. This will provide a little bit extra tension. In my research, I found that the serratus posterior superior muscle contributes to this dysfunctional area. As you palpate the area in between the spine and the medial border of the scapula, the ribs should feel kind of like a wave. It's not uncommon that you'll find displaced ribs in this area. They don't feel quite as symmetrical as the others. By finding these areas, instead of going through that area with pressure, hesitate and allow the area to soften. What's happening is that the fascia around that dysfunctional rib area is releasing and it's letting go. As the fascia continues to soften, what you'll notice is that the rib will literally slide back into place. Start with your forearm glide down the back from C7 to T12, just lateral to the spine. Then with each stroke, move more laterally to treat the area closer to the scapula. Generally a minimum of 3 strokes, with the second and third strokes angle towards the hips. If any adhesions are found, try and go against the grain and go through the area and smooth out any restrictions. So now we come to underneath the rhomboids, which is serratus posterior superior. This attaches to the upper few ribs. And sometimes when it gets stuck, it literally has the ability to pull your rib out of its track. So if you were to look at the ribs as sliding back and forth in their track when we breathe, a lot of times what ends up happening is that these muscles get so tight and they pull the ribs out of its place, so it doesn't slide like it's supposed to when we breathe. So when they don't slide, then they get stuck, and then everything else starts getting affected too. So this area becomes so hypersensitive. So by placing the arm overhead or on a stool or as close as you can to going overhead, and I found by going this way, it's not quite the same way, but going down, what I'm going to find is I'm going to find 3 areas. The most lateral is usually most sensitive. So the first area is going to be about C7, and I'm going to go down to the lower thoracic vertebra, just off the spine. The next area is I'm going to be going this way, but I'm going to angle myself towards the pelvis. Then the third is I'm still going to be medial to the scapula, and I'm going to be angling towards the pelvis. A lot of times this third one is going to be most sensitive. Do not bounce off of this. Try and go through these speed bumps. I guarantee they are there. In a sense, what you're doing is that the ribs literally are going back into their place. It's not a spinal adjustment. The muscles are literally relaxing, so the ribs will actually slide back into the track where they're supposed to. The key to this one is using your sensitivity and work with the person. So it's a very small little area right in through here. So the first one is going to be just off the center of the spine into the spinous process. I let my body weight do the work for me. So primarily elbow, maybe with a little bit of forearm, and I'm only going to be going down to this area here. Pressure okay?
Yes.
Can you handle any more?
Maybe a little.
Not too bad. Next area. So here's the spine of the scapula, or here's the scapula. So now we're going to angle ourselves towards the hip. How's that one?
You're right at the edge where the pressure is.
Do you feel any referrals going to the front or anything?
No.
I just got to crawl with this. I cannot go too fast. You'll bounce over those speed bumps. halfway there. And once you get past the lower ridge of the scapula, then go to the next spot. If you're slow enough and sensitive enough, then you only have to do it one time. You don't have to go back and do it again. Okay, so now here's the medial border of the scapula. I'm going to start here and I'm going to go just alongside that scapular border, but I'm still on the edge of the rhomboids, going towards the hip. If you have a tendency to fall off, you could actually even cup your hand
Too much.
around there. Better? Or still too much?
Still, yeah, still a lot.
Still a lot.
I'm
Wow.
actually feeling that before right up
She
in the-
feels that into the trapezius. Now, what we're going to come to halfway down the scapula is going to be the lower portion of trapezius. And it is a major, major speed bump. So when you get to the mid-scapular portion, know that it's there and do not bounce off of it. Try and go through it. It's just like a speed bump in the parking lot. So we're going up the side of that mountain. We go to the very peak, and instead of bouncing off, I'm going to go even slower. Pressure right?
Mhm. In the front here.
Yeah.
Feeling referring up into the jaw now.
It refers into the jaw. How about that? Interesting how it's all connected. She's actually pulsating, her muscle is right now. It's thinking about it. It's like with the arm overhead, it's actually trapped. It doesn't have a choice. It has to let go. See how slow you have to go with this? Pressure, all right? There we go. And I find this on everybody. I actually kind of bounced off of that last one just a touch, but boy, was that something. How is that? Can you feel a difference?
Mm-hmm.